right, and on a Monday night, no less. So thank you for coming. I'm going to try to keep it brief because for two reasons. One is I'm recovering from a concussion and I've been doing really wacky, unusual things, and I want to spare you all from that by not talking too long. And two, really the stars of this story are Akola Gweck, President of the Borcda County Development Association, and Elizabeth McClellan, President and Founder of Partners for Rural Health. And them and their teams have just moved mountains and done a tremendous amount of work to make the last one that went and the first one that went go to South Sudan on February 21st. And 7 South Sudanese individuals went to Portland, Maine and met Elizabeth and her team and helped load it and send that container off, and it's en route right now. So I'm not going to talk a lot about how we got to where we were. Really 2 years ago was when the idea happened, and then through many twists and turns and stops and starts, we were led to Elizabeth, and the container was beyond our wildest dreams. And I'm going to introduce Nicole shortly, but before I do that, I want to give a super shout out to Cindy Harris. Thank you for opening your house and doing so much more, publicizing and making this event happen. It would not have happened without you, so thank you. I also want to thank Dee and her crew for making all the authentic South Sudanese food, and my mom for desserts, and everyone else who's done a small piece to make this event successful tonight, so thank you for that. Without further ado, I want to introduce Akol. So Akola Gweck is one of the lost boys of Sudan. He came to the United States in 2001, and he got a job, put himself through the University of Vermont, earned a bachelor's degree. Then I met him in 2006. We became colleagues in University of Vermont admissions. We became friends and maintained that friendship. While Akol was working in admissions, he simultaneously earned his master's in business administration from the University of Vermont. As if that wasn't enough, he went on to Harvard Kennedy School of Government to earn a second master's degree. Akol came back to be with his family in Vermont. He started working again at University of Vermont in the Office of International Education, and he was also elected president of the Borcda County Development Association. I'm not going to say too much about that because he will fill you in much better than I can. Before I turn it over, I just want to note a few things. If you don't know a lot about how it started and want to learn more, feel welcome to connect with myself or Cole. And this project is going to have immediate impact as soon as that container arrives. And every dollar that's donated goes to the project, either to every dollar that has been donated, and some of you are here that had faith in it back in the fall when it was just starting. So thank you for having faith and donating and helping to make this container go. And donations are tax deductible because Borcda County Development Association is a nonprofit. And if you're compelled to give after Akol and Elizabeth speak, Cindy has a beautiful vase here. You can drop any donations in.
Wow.
And then she also created these pink cards, so feel welcome to bring them with you. Spread the word. The more people that know, this just keeps snowballing and it's becoming something amazing. And you can also donate online at the Borcda County Development Association's
Spell
website.
that, please.
Borcda County. Actually, here, I will get you a
I have
card.
one actually.
You have one? Okay. Yep. All right. Well, please help me welcome Akola Gweck.
Thank you so much, Vicky Goben, for the kind introduction. First of all, I'm so humbled, and we as a South Sudanese community who are here tonight are so honored to have this event occur at Cindy's house. It is such a generous offer. And before I say anything, I need to introduce the members of our community who are here tonight. We have Jurkuj, Well, it's just here. We also have a Dan Pio right there. Also Bola Joy right there. And Atong Magot right there. And T Machar, my wife right there. And also the kids are playing at the back. So those are the wonderful South Sudanese women that prepared the meals for us tonight. I also have two members of my family, American family, tonight. My host parent, Ann Hogan, is right here. And actually, and her late husband, Bill Hogan, welcomed me at the airport on July 17, 2001. We have a lot of
say how
stories.
spectacular that was. He came alone after about maybe 20 or so of the other Lost Boys had already arrived. So when Bill and George went to the airport to pick up a call, there were like 20-something Dinka boys, Lost Boys there. And as soon as they saw him come through the door, they did their traditional jumping up and down. It was beautiful.
And next to Ann Hogan is our friend Tina Coralmaya. Also, we met through Hogan family and
Taught Thee how to drive.
yes, taught Thea how to drive. And yes, they have been wonderful to us. And of course, thank you so much, Cindy, and your husband for having us here. And also, I also want to take this opportunity to also thank our friends, Vicky Goben and her mom and her husband right here. They have been very supportive of us. They have donated a lot of money over the years, as is the Hogan family, toward our different projects that we run for Boer community. And of course, I'm so humbled to be next to Elizabeth, who has done a tremendous job when Vicky connected me to Elizabeth. I was actually, I didn't think that it would happen. So T and I, we talk about it and I say, how can this happen? And it actually happened because of her tremendous work that she's doing around the world, getting medical supplies and equipment that save a lot of lives. You just returned Bangladesh this Thursday, right? Yeah, so she's traveling all over the world doing exactly that. And she is going to work with us to actually do another medical mission to South Sudan. Now, I don't want to spend a lot of time, but it is always a good idea to kind of give a background story of how we ended up here. The Lost Boys of Sudan, I will just make it very brief. We came to the U.S. beginning of year 2000 to year 2004. It has been 3,600, mostly boys, plus a few girls. We were resettled all over the U.S. and you never choose where you go. Once you do the interview and they decided to say yes, come to the U.S., they can decide to send you anywhere, and so they send people all over the U.S. That was how I and many of people here in the room ended up in Burlington, Vermont, and it turned out to be a great place. That is why we are still here 18 years later, despite the winters. Now, coming to Boer County Development Association is an organization that was founded back in 2005 by South Sudanese who are from a specific particular area in South Sudan, currently in Jonglei State. mainly from people who hail from Borcda County. And so the organization was founded in 2005. It is incorporated in the state of North Dakota, and it is an IRS recognized 501c3 nonprofit organization. It has been led by 3 people now. Uh, the, the first person, and then the second person, and I'm the third now. And what we have been trying to do over the years is to try to see how we can organize ourselves and pool our resources together to support, community program here in the U.S., but mostly focusing on doing programs that can actually improve the lives of people back in South Sudan and the refugee camps. And so we have focused on generating resources among ourselves, but we also focus on looking out for people of goodwill, American people who can actually donate to our efforts. And over the years, we have done parades in places like here in Vermont. When I became the leader in 2015, my first parade was done here, and and Vicky and her mom did come to that, and they donated handsomely. And then we did another parade in Texas. We did another parade in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. We did another parade in Syracuse, New York, and we did another parade recently in Washington State, most of which went toward keeping the container. The project we are working on currently, and for which I'm appealing to all of you here in the room and people that you know to donate toward that project, is still about an equipment that we would have included in the container. But we could have been lucky that Elizabeth has it in his stocks, but he didn't. But the doctors back home, if I were to open my Facebook account here, I could show you the pictures of Borcda State Hospital, the hospital for which the container is, and Elizabeth will talk about that later. But the hospital for which that container is being shipped to, the doctors there, especially the leading doctor called Dr. Ngok, we are trying to get him here, and if he comes before the 7th of May, he will come to Maine to present during your Global Health Series. They emphasize that we could, if there is only one thing we should never forget, was to actually get the X-ray machine, because the X-ray machine that was in that hospital was destroyed during 2013 Civil War, where the town of Borcda was taken over and everything was destroyed. Actually, the patients were killed on the hospital beds. There are graphic pictures out there. So that machine was destroyed. And this is a big referral hospital that served over 200,000 people that hail from Jonglei State. Currently, there is Borcda County, there is Tweed County, and there is Duke County. This hospital is the referral hospital for those 3 counties. It doesn't have that X-ray machine because it was destroyed. The government of South Sudan is currently facing very difficult financial situation because the South Sudanese pound kind of crashed, and so it does not have any value anymore. So they cannot afford to actually pay the health professional, let alone getting a very expensive high-tech machine such as X-ray machine. So the doctors, including Dr. Ngok, actually literally beg us to actually go out to get an X-ray machine, and we promise that we will do everything in our power to get it, and we will still collaborate with Elizabeth to see if we can get another container going. Another option would have been, we are still considering if we need to get it quicker, is through what what they call humanitarian lift. We have one of our lost boys that also work in the organization with me, based in Washington State. We actually invited us to do the parade. He's one of the senior executives at the Boeing. Now they have an issue right now. They have a very big PR issue, but they have relationship with Ethiopian airline that you now know. So when they sail planes to Ethiopian airline, normally the plane is ready and is flown to Ethiopia, so they always have this space to put things on. It is called humanitarian leave, so that would have been another opportunity to get there if we can get the container ready. But so we committed ourselves to getting that X-ray machine, and we did reach out to Elizabeth, and they are willing to actually work with us to find a decent machine in the secondary market to get it. So when Elizabeth was traveling overseas, Vicky and I got together and we thought, well, if Elizabeth come to town, we should actually organize a function like this to get American friends together and then present and hopefully see if people could actually donate toward that effort. So last night, of course, we were lucky that Cindy opened the house for us. That is why we are here tonight. And so when we had the space, the goal was to reach out to as many people as we can, and then of course also the Sudanese community, especially women, to commit themselves to prepare the meals for the event. Last night we did make a promotion for this event, reaching out to our people all over the U.S. and said this event is going to happen, and hopefully our American friends who come to attend may actually help us donate. Why can we get started? I challenge people, I go on Facebook Live and challenge them to get started on donating. And last night we donated 7,500 cards. Yes, through Facebook Live. And we have the link to our account, so people just go and put the money in, and the money is there. So we challenge people and said, I actually said, if I'm going to reach out to our American friend, we better do our part. We better show that we are serious. We better show that we need this. We better show that we can actually dedicate our resources toward it. And if we are successful in getting that X-ray machine, it will save a lot of lives. Because right now, the city of Bor, I wish there was a technology here. It's not a very populous. Bor and Juba is only 75 miles. So from American standard, Hanover, New Hampshire is far away, but it actually takes some time during rainy season, and that's why we want to get that container to Bor as quickly as we can. There is insecurity there between Bor and Juba. If you can afford it to buy a plane ticket, then you can fly yourself to Juba. That is the only way you could, if a doctor actually refer you for X-ray, you have to be referred to Juba. Then you have to worry about getting yourself there. Can you afford to get yourself on a car or to buy a plane ticket? What if you are in the city of Juba? Who is going to take care of you? Who is going to provide transportation in a big city like that? So it actually has economic implications that if you get it there, and Dr. Angok and people and I toured the facility when I was there, assured us that people who have the know-how to actually operate that machine are there, and they could actually make it work. Of course, the energy, the power is always sometime on and off. That is the issue that people have in that part of the world. We are trying also to see if we will get a solar energy that we could also supply to the hospital. The water system work. The water system in this 3 building pediatric ward maternity ward, and male ward, and emergency room. They all have, water system flowing, but the pump actually that water to the tank is not actually functioning. We got, and Elizabeth will mention, the container we feel we had a lot of things that will actually make that place decent. But that is my appeal tonight. Thank you for coming. We are appealing to you to donate to this effort, and it is our goal to get that equipment to Bor State Hospital, and it will save lives. It is the money, your donation is not going anywhere. It's not going to operation costs. We are all volunteers. We don't have, we actually don't even run an office space to spend money on any unnecessary bill. It goes directly to that project. Like the container we ship, basically we had friends, maybe some of you in this room, who actually donated. We got, I think, 575 from our friends here. Elizabeth's organization was able to chip in 5,000. We got 12,000 from Washington State, our community there, and then we got some of it from our general account, and we pieced that together. That came to, I think, 31,396. I think that's paid for the container, and also and all the things that were involved, because all the equipment were procured and assessed by partners for Wallace, and they were all free, but it was our responsibility to make sure that it got paid for and it got shipped to Bor. We hope the tax exemption letter just came out. I think you saw the email from the government of South Sudan, which is we needed that. So it is our goal to get it there, but our mission right now is to get that X-ray machine, and if we are able to get it, that would be a wonderful thing to accomplish, and we will know that we will have saved a lot of lives. I will stop there to answer questions if there are questions, or I will let Elizabeth take over, and then I will be able to answer questions, and of course the members of our community here can also chip in as well. So I will stop there, Vicky, and need to say something.
Elizabeth, will you talk about what the price of the machine is and the timeline?
Sure. So, good evening, everyone.
Thank you, Nicole.
So nice to be here and to provide And Partners for World Health is an organization that I founded 10 years ago in Maine. I'm a nurse by profession and had the opportunity to travel a lot in our world and to see the way healthcare is provided in many different countries, and realize that we here in the United States have so many medical supplies that we're constantly discarding every day, and decided that I'm going to take ownership of that problem. So I don't like to call things a problem, that situation. So I started to collect all this stuff, and within a year and a half I had 11,000 pounds of discarded medical supplies stored in my house. And so in September of 2009, I moved it to the first warehouse, and now we've really grown. We have two big centers in Portland, 15,000 square feet each, a distribution center for the smaller things, and then a shipping center for the big things like OR tables, beds, dialysis machines, those kind of laboratory equipment, wheelchairs, walkers, crutches, etc. Another place in Bangor and Presque Isle, and a place here in Burlington, as well as another one in Bethel, Vermont. We're the only organization in New England, Partners for World Health, that collects discarded medical supplies and reprocesses them, repackages them, and then reaches out to organizations such as a Coles organization to provide container loads of medical supplies that we ship to different countries. We ship a container load a month. They range between 15 to 18,000 pounds of discarded medical supplies. They're all headed to the dump or to the landfill. The value is between $200,000 to $250,000 of medical supplies that were saved from the dump, that can all go to different parts of our world where they're dramatically needed. And as Apol described, I've traveled extensively and just came back from Bangladesh, 167 million people in a landmass the size of the state of Iowa. So when you think of huge volumes, you have 300-bed facility, you have 500 patients, and 200 are on the floor. And that's exactly what's happening in Borcda Medical County Hospital in South Sudan, is that there are so many patients coming in with all of these illnesses and in need of medical supplies, medications, laboratory tests, x-rays for their broken bones, etc., that there's no place to put them, so they all live on the floor. And they don't go home because they're traveling from 50 miles or 100 miles from where they were living, so their family members are there too, because remember, there's no food that's provided 3 meals a day. Like if you go into a hospital here, you don't worry about your food. Well, the family has to provide that food. The family has to provide the mat. The family has to provide the linen. The family has to go out and buy all of the dressing supplies that the physician or the nurse gives them and say, you need to go buy this, 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 and this. They have to go outside and buy the antibiotics because they don't have those in the hospital. They're not able to provide any of that. So when you think about what we just sent, 18,000 pounds of medical supplies that went to this one hospital in South Sudan, that's a huge amount of help that's being provided, all because of all of you here that made that donation to make that container possible. You're totally right that what you're doing and making that choice, you came here, you made a life here, and now you want to give something back to your own country, and that's really admirable, and I am more than happy to help you, as is everybody else here in this room. Because we have so much in our country, it's time to figure out, how do we give it back? How do we figure out how to give this back? And my goal is to take all those medical supplies that we're going to throw away anyway, and try to repackage them and redistribute them to people that are less fortunate than we are. That's what we're doing at Partners for World Health. We ship a container a month. February was to South Sudan. We just shipped a container last week to Syria. In Uganda, that went in January. We have another one going to Uganda in April. And then we have one going to Puerto Rico. We've sent actually 4 containers to Puerto Rico since the hurricane hit in 2017. Which Puerto Rico is, part of us, and we're the only organization that has sent so many medical supplies down there to them, since this happened. And then we have another Uganda one coming, Rwanda, another one going to Burundi. There are so many countries in our world that need our medical supplies, and if all we're going to do is throw them away, then I want them all. We'll just take them all. We take them from hospitals, from nursing homes, from private individuals. We bring them all in, we sort them all out, we repackage them, and then we make them ready for organizations so that they can have them and ship them to hospitals that are in desperate need.
Amen.
Question?
How do
you contact hospitals and ask them for their
Well, it used to be that when I first started this, I was working at Maine Medical Center, which is a 600-bed level 1 trauma center, like University of Vermont Medical Center is here. And I went to the CEO and explained to him that I just wanted to collect all the stuff that's left behind in a discharged room. When you go into the hospital, if you don't take everything that's left behind on the bedside table or on the windowsill, that's stuff that goes to the trash. It all goes to the trash. You paid for that. Your insurance company paid for that, or somebody paid for it. And we need to remember that healthcare insurance in our country is not free. It doesn't matter how you cut it. It's somebody who has to pay for it. It's either somebody with big bucks and pays a lot of tax, but somebody pays for it. So all of that stuff has been paid for, and it all goes to the dump. So that's how I started to collect it initially. And then I would reach out to different hospitals and talk to them about developing a recycling program. Now I don't have to reach out anymore because hospitals are calling us. Like Spalding Rehab Hospital in Boston, like BU Medical Center, like University of Massachusetts Medical Center in Boston. In Worcester. So these hospitals are connecting with us now because they want to develop a recycling program. So that's how we've expanded to so many different
So
places.
you've connected here with Burlington?
Yes, well, that was as I was explaining this story, a University of Massachusetts Medical Center gave me an award for a humanitarian award by a physician by the last name of Cataldo. And this family was honoring their father. So I went down there and I made this presentation about Partners for World Health, and they gave me this nice award. And Peter Cataldo is a GI physician, a very well-known GI physician here at University of Vermont Medical Center. And he came up to me and said, you know, I'm so glad to give you this award in honor of my dad, but I want you to start this program up at University of Vermont Medical Center. So that's how we ended up here. And I just had dinner with him last night, actually. Great guy who's, I don't know if any of you know him, but if you need GI surgery, that's the guy to go. He knows what he's doing. And he's developed a big program, and he traveled with us last October to Bangladesh to the National Institute for Cancer Research. So that's how we ended up developing a big program.
So how long have you been up here?
For about a year and a half. Yeah.
So every room that gets cleaned out?
No, we're kind of expanded from the OR, and now we're into rooms. And we have a system where the housekeepers, the nurses collect it in housekeepers, and then the housekeepers bring it down to the loading dock. And this is how we've developed this model in different hospitals, where they put it in these big pallet Gaylord boxes, and then once they have 4 or 5 Gaylord boxes full, then they call us, and then we send our truck up here to pick it up. And then we bring it down. And we pick up the beds and the incubators and the x-ray machine, well, no x-ray machines coming out of UVM lately, but those kind of things, laboratory equipment. We also run a medical mission program. So whenever a container goes, we provide a medical mission for free. And a medical mission involves taking physicians, nurses, physical therapists, pharmacists, and everybody pays their own way, and we coordinate them with our partners. And our new partner in South Sudan is the Borcda Medical Center and Akul. And so we're planning on doing, once this container arrives, Vicki and I and another nurse colleague that I know is NICU, neonatal nurse practitioner, we're going to go to South Sudan and do an evaluation and figure out what you really need, and then we're going to bring doctors and nurses to provide education and training for the healthcare workers there. And we do that in Bangladesh, we do it in Uganda, we do it in Senegal, we do it in Liberia, and then Ethiopia and other places where we've been throughout the world for medical missions. They're free, everybody pays their own way, we don't charge anybody for this service. The only thing that we ask is that when we arrive, somebody's there to greet us and that they take care of us, because you cannot go into South Sudan without people. You cannot go anywhere without connection. Like in Bangladesh, we've been going there now since 2012, and we go there twice a year. You cannot go and run a medical mission unless you have contacts on the ground, because these are places where they have issues going on with their government and other things, and all we're there is to provide healthcare services. So I'm willing to go, because I know somebody on the other end is going to meet me, and I'm going to be fine. And if you want to come, then I'm sure we can figure this out. They need a lot of help. You know, their country has gone through such struggle in the last 20 years. What kind of struggle have we gone through? We've gone through many aspects of struggle here in our country, but nothing, absolutely nothing, like what has happened in South Sudan, or what has happened in Syria, or what has happened in Burundi, with another country that's been at civil war for so many years. So we are lucky. We are so lucky. We grew up here, on this side of the ocean, and it was the luck of the draw. So it's time for us to give it back, and big time. And that's what we like to do here at Partners for World Health, and we're really glad to be with you.
Amen.
And ask you a question, and I'm going to ask you a question about the price if you were to get
Sure.
it.
And the timeline.
So the container shipped in February, and it should be there within 6 weeks, 6 to 7 weeks. I think that was the plan, as I recall. The price ranges between $20,000 to $27,000, $28,000, depending upon how far it's going, and also depending on if there's If you don't have a port, like in Tanzania.
Oh, I meant the X-ray machine.
Oh, the X-ray machine. Okay, the X-ray machine, we don't have an X-ray machine. On the secondary market, we can probably pick up an X-ray machine for about $10,000 or $11,000. And those are out there, and we know, we were looking at those. This is a basic X-ray machine. These are, and you don't need a, what's happening in our country is that basic X-ray machines take a picture of your lung, a picture of your broken bone, a picture of your abdomen, KUB, kidney, uterus, bladder type of thing. Those are basic X-ray machines. You take a picture, you put it in your developer, and you hold it up to the light, and you get to see it. And so what's happened here in the United States is that we have gone to digital X-ray machines. So we don't want these old machines anymore. So they get rid of them, and they're perfectly fine. And so they're all out there on the secondary market. Like UVM only has digital machines. That's what they're using, big digital X-ray machines now. And so they are available for us to find that are perfectly fine, perfectly simple machines that can be used in Sausalito. Those are available.
And well, if you find an X-ray machine, will you just put it into the next container that's going? Do you know that there's a next container that's
Well,
going to Sudan?
Yes, the
South
plan
Sudan.
would be is that the X-ray machine would come up to us. It would be purchased and would have to come up to our warehouse. And then we have to plan on, we have to raise the funding to ship the machine plus the other medical supplies in another container. Now, one container isn't enough
Yeah.
to sort to meet the challenges that are over there.
Unless you put it on Ethiopian
a
Airlines.
humanitarian aid through Ethiopian Airlines. You know, they might be able to
Shipped
do
out
it
of
that way.
Boston, or are you shipping from?
We ship from Portland. So the container well, we don't ship from Portland, but the container comes out from Boston or New York, and then we load it in Portland at our warehouse, and then it goes back down to the port, and then shipped from the port, Boston or New York.
And it goes by plane.
It goes by boat. These are 40-foot containers, big
okay.
containers. They come in 20 and 40 feet long. We ship the ones that are 40 feet long. If you're ever in Portland, I would welcome all of you to come for a tour. We'd be happy to show you around so you can see this whole thing in operation. I'm a volunteer. I don't take a paycheck. I couldn't do this anymore up until about 2 years ago. We were all volunteers, but I couldn't do it anymore with everything that was growing and how big it was, so that we've hired several people. We have 6 people on staff now. So we're running a very lean and mean operation. We have 30 to 35 people, volunteers, showing up every day to help sort through all of these medical supplies. So if you're in Portland, give us a call, because we'd be happy to show you around.
So I'm shocked at how much hospitals are getting rid of. I don't think I had any idea it was to this extent. Can you say a little more about what, aside from what's at the bedside, and like what beds, whenever they get new stuff, they just get rid of the old?
Well, whenever they get new stuff, like they upgrade to new beds, striker beds or hill run beds from the older beds, like nursing homes have a lot of older brown beds that are crank beds.
Right.
We're very interested in those beds because they're not requiring electricity, and electricity in many parts of Africa is not dependable, and so we like those old beds. But in hospitals like UVM Medical Center here, you don't have any old crank beds. You have electric beds that are hill run or striker beds. So as time goes on, you upgrade. Your capital equipment budget comes in, and it says you have, this department, the OR, has $500,000 allocated for a capital equipment budget. What do you want? So the OR lights, which are working perfectly fine, they decide, well, we want 2 new OR lights. So the new OR lights come in, and so they go and they take these off the ceiling, and they replace them with the new ones. So what are you going to do with the old ones? You're going to put them in the dump, or you're going to try to sell them on the secondary market? And most hospitals are not into the secondary market because that's a whole nother employee or a couple other employees. So they're not going to hire an employee to try to sell these things. So then they look for people like Partners of World Health to make a donation, or it just goes to the landfill or to metal recycling. And so this is huge expense. And when you look at the volume of stuff that, not just the big stuff. Think about the exam tables. This happened once in Maine. They called and they said from a clinic, you know, like a primary care clinic, which I'm sure you have here. And they said, we're getting rid of exam tables, do you want them? And I said, yeah, I kind of want to see them. Are they ripped? You know, no. So I went out to see them and they were in perfectly great shape, not stained, not ripped, nothing. And I said, why are you getting rid of these? And they said, because the capital equipment budget came through and we have 6 new ones coming. So if you don't take these 6 off our hands, we're gonna put them in the landfill. I said, okay. So I took them. So this is happening everywhere, not just in Vermont or Maine or New England. This is happening everywhere in our country. And if you want to look at the volume of waste that we have in our healthcare system, now you will understand why. One reason why, not all of the reasons, but one reason why our healthcare insurance is so expensive. We're the most expensive healthcare insurance provider in the world. And part of it is because of the waste situation. We have other reasons. Fraud, we have major fraud issues going on. We have duplications of tests. We have lots of other reasons, but that's one of the reasons why it's so high.
Infection was a big thing. Anything that had been in a room, you couldn't use it again because
They're thinking that it might be infected. However, it's in the package. So what that would mean though, and I'm a nurse, I've been trying to promote this for a while, is you have to hire somebody else to take that stuff that's been in that room, to take it to a certain area and decontaminate it. And you have to make sure you hit the minimum standard of decontamination. So is that cost effective for you to do? So it turns out that it may not be, so then they throw it out. So if you're going to throw it away anyway, just give it to me.